Blog Talk Radio.
This is Heart to Heart Talk Radio, part of the Enlightenment Evolution Network. I am your host, Daniel Scranton. For the next hour or so, please listen with your heart.
Hello, everyone. This is Daniel Scranton, and this is Heart to Heart Talk Radio. My guest tonight is Shawn Randall. Shawn is a channel, and she teaches channeling. And Shawn has been doing this for quite some time, since 1983. So I'm sure she has a lot of stories. And I'm also very excited to announce, it, for those of you who don't know, that Shawn and I are going to be channeling at the same event in September in Los Angeles. So you might want to put that on your calendar because it's going to be a pretty big event, 2 days, 8 channels. So it'll be a lot of fun. So without further ado, let me bring Shawn on. This studio board is different, so I'm going to hope this works. Hello, Shawn.
Hello, Daniel. Thank you so much for having us on. I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. I'm very excited to have you. And these are always the most popular shows, is when we have channels on. So we've already got 3 people calling in and 1 person with their hand up. So we'll get to your questions later on in the program, but first we want to meet Shawn and talk to Shawn for a little while. So if you are interested in talking to Torah later, just call in at 347-308-8788, and you can get in line for that. Yeah, so Shawn, I want to hear a little bit about how you grew up. What type of household did you grow up in, and when did you start to notice that you had abilities, so to speak?
Yeah, sure. I grew up in a wonderful household that was somewhat metaphysically inclined. The religion that we were raised in was a metaphysical religion called Christian Science. And,
okay.
And my mother passed away when I was 9. And she would visit me in dreams and in the room, and I thought it was a very normal thing to be able to participate in that. Of course, it was, but it was also a somewhat rare thing. But that's the first inclination that I ever had, that I had some abilities, but I didn't even think of it as abilities. To me, it was the norm. Oh, yeah, Mother's coming to say she's still with me, and Mother's coming to tell me how much she still loves me, and it was wonderful. It was very, very wonderful to have that reassurance.
Yeah.
And so that was really it, and until I guess I was in my 20s, and I was always somewhat spiritual because of Christian Science, which is again believes that God is all and God is love, and therefore love is all in certain ways, just in the broad spectrum here. But for me, the development of it goes to a mediumship metaphysical class that I was in, and there was an entity named Dr. Peebles who was teaching part of the class, a certain section of it, and that turned out to be like a preparatory process that eventually became my channeling, which I wasn't really expecting. I didn't go in there with the intention of vocal channeling, nor was the class about vocal channeling per se. But also in the class was a woman, a psychologist, getting her PhD, and she decided to do her dissertation on the evolution and development of a trance channel. And she got several of it, including Daryl Anka and a bunch of people that were sort of just starting to channel at the time, and sort of analyzed our process of integrating the energy and what went on with that psychologically. And she was my best friend at the time, Dr. Margot Chandley. And Margot and I would do practice sessions. And then, lo and behold, one day, Torah, my main entity, or my homie, came through and because of these practice sessions with Margot, I could develop it, and out of that grew what I call the channeling process, and which I've been working with and teaching for these many years. So that's sort of how it happened. Out of it, I learned that channeling doesn't just happen overnight. It really needs to be developed and educated. In other words, to hold its integrity, to hold a sense of authenticity. Development and training, I think, is really important. So anyway, that's how it sort of all came about. Thanks to Dr. Chanley, we could talk and we could channel and practice, and all kinds of interesting things happened that year.
What was the initial experience of connecting with Torah like for you? Did you have doubts? What was the initial moment there?
Well,
what was that like?
I'd been in this preparatory process sort of with my higher self, and I was starting to get the energies. And then one evening I was meditating, and I kind of got a telepathic message, just close your eyes and wait a minute. And I heard in my mind, it's like, oh, I'm here, or something like that. And I spoke out loud and said, who is this? And then I just rested, and my mind went completely blank. And then out of my mouth, very loud, came the letters Torah, very bold, Torah, that kind of thing. And it was like my eyes popped open. It was like, whoa, where did that come from? So I did a little more telepathic writing right after that, and then I called my friend Margot, and I said, we got to get together and find out what's going on. And then Torah would come through talking to her, and it got better and better every time. I found that, the energies are very intense in the beginning, but then they can blend in such a way that becomes very smooth and easy over time. And that's what happened. But that first experience of the letters coming out, Torah, it was quite ecstatic, quite surprising. Because I hadn't asked for a name. I just said, well, what's happening? Am I talking to somebody now? And then I got real restful, and my mind went blank, and out came the letters. So I did trust it very much so, because Margot, Dr. Chanley, would test things out. She'd talk to the entities. There was more than Torah coming through, which often happens with new channels. Sometimes there's more than one, and a lot of times that's preparing the instrument for the greater expression of a significant one. Sort of like balancing what the byway, which is the physical and emotional body, and the energy body, the etheric aura, can hold by way of having different entities come through, sort of preparatory. So there was Torah, and then there was this English woman named Martha, and but once Torah was sort of adjusted, all the other ones went away. So I didn't really doubt, because Margot was asking. But I do know that doubt is a very, very big topic that most channels have at some point, because, and do you want me to explain about why?
Yes, please.
Okay. Well, one of the conundrums with channeling is that, these wonderful unseen friends that speak through us use our subconscious and unconscious mind and our toolkit. They use our language, they use our cultural references, they use images, they use this toolkit, and they use this vocabulary that we provide. The better the channel's vocabulary, the better will be the vocabulary of the entity. But what happens is that because there's this sort of sharing of consciousness, if I could call it that, between the entity and the human, it's like a lot of channels think, oh, well, it's me, because those are words, I know that word, or that's a truth I know, and so they're just saying something I know, and the way I explain that is it's sort of like one big pool of consciousness that you and your entity are both in. You're both in this big, vast pool of consciousness. So the thoughts, if somebody's conscious, the thoughts are going to be floating around, and it takes time to be able to discern the difference between their thoughts and your thoughts. And so that's one of the reasons why new channels will doubt. It's like, well, wait a minute, I knew that, and the entity's saying that and all that. And the other thing I remind them is that usually the unseen friend, as I call the entities unseen friends, usually the unseen friend is choosing to say a truth that maybe you know at a certain time and in a certain way and with a certain specificity that has nothing to do with you. In other words, why would that unseen friend say that thing at that time to that person in that way?
Right.
It's not you. They may be using universal truths, you know, but that does not mean it's you speaking.
Right. That's so great. I'm so glad you said all that, because that's so helpful for so many. Because there are so many now who are opening to channel. And I think it's interesting that you started this around the same time Daryl started, around the same time Esther started. I know Lisa Royal has been channeling for about 30 years. So, and
she was actually she was in my first channeling class.
That is so cool.
She was in my very first channeling class.
Yeah. Oh, that would be so fun to be. You know, when I read this test book. Go ahead.
I was going to say that Lisa and I have stayed in contact. We're real good friends, and whenever I'm in Phoenix, I visit with her, and we have a great time talking about channeling and life.
She and I have talked about her coming on the show, and you know, I know it's going to happen sometime, but she's traveling a lot between Japan and Europe and the U.S., so it's hard to pin her down sometimes. But yeah, how cool is that? And it's like right at the time Jane Roberts made her transition, all these channels who have been channeling for, 30 years, around 30 years, kind of cropped up in that around that same time, because I believe Jane transitioned in 1984. So I find that fascinating, like carrying the torch,
Yes, like passing the torch. I hadn't thought of it quite that way, except I think of it generationally, that she was of one generation of channels, including Eileen Garrett, was just a little before her. Before that, the generation that included Edgar Casey. And then there's the generation of the 80s. And then there's the generation of the 90s, which brings in Esther.
Yeah.
But one thing I want to point out, too, that's interesting, Daniel, about the timing, like the mid-'80s of all these channels coming out, including myself, the channeling closet, coming out of the channeling closet, is the fact that Shirley MacLaine put channeling on the map with her book, Out on a Limb. And that was huge. No one had heard the word channeling before. No one had seen it, heard about it, and suddenly she had this #1 best-selling book where she writes all about channeling, and her friend Kevin Ryerson, who channeled for her. And she was a 100% believer because of the wonderful things that Spirit through Kevin did with her. And that really is what opened the door for channeling to be seen, and maybe not fully accepted yet, but that was the floodgate. And also the harmonic convergence was right around then, and that opened the floodgate.
Oh yeah. Well, what's really interesting about you bringing that up is that my memory of my childhood is that it was one of the least metaphysical childhoods. I don't know if anyone.
Oh no.
I grew up very Catholic. I for whatever reason I signed up for that experience of going to church every Sunday, being a total 100% believer, getting confirmed and all that stuff. But I do remember watching Out on a Limb, the miniseries by Shirley MacLaine. So that's my one. I'm getting goosebumps right now. That's my one memory of having any sort of exposure to anything even close to being metaphysical in my life. So it's really interesting. And I actually messaged her on Facebook and said, I just wanted to tell you that, that how much that miniseries meant to me when I was a kid, and I still remember it. And she actually messaged me back, and I forget what she said, but it was kind.
It influenced a lot of potential channels tremendously. There was a sense of acceptance around what we were doing. It's interesting because Kevin Ryerson, that wonderful channel that was in the book, is still channeling, and he and I are friends. We've done some conferences together, some co-channeling together, and he's a wonderful man. He's still doing it. And he was really right there in that sort of that new generational vanguard. It's exciting.
Very cool.
Because it's all pointing to this evolution of consciousness. It's all about interconnectivity of humanity's consciousness with the greater whole, including non-physical consciousness.
Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about Torah. Now, when you refer to Torah, you refer to with a male pronoun, right? So I can say he, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So why that name? Because we know the word Torah has something to do with Judaism, right? Like the first 5 books of the Bible or something like that.
Well, yeah.
So why that name?
That's the Torah. And I'm not Jewish at all, but Torah has explained that the word Torah, he uses it in the generic sensing, meaning teachings of love and light.
Okay.
So,
I see.
It's not the Torah, it's Torah as teachings of love and light.
Right.
And why he uses that name, other than teachings of love and light, may relate to a past life connection I had with Torah in Egypt. It's a very long story, but a very interesting story that came to light when I was in Egypt. But it may have something to do with that, and there's still mystery around that lifetime, because he wasn't a human being in that lifetime. He was like a person who could materialize and dematerialize. But so it may have something to do with that. And then Torah currently just is very simple about his description of himself. He doesn't like to talk about himself because he feels it's more about the teachings that he wants to bring than who's doing the teaching. And some entities teach by way of what their identity is expressing. And with Torah, it's more the teachings and the identity being, a multidimensional consciousness no longer choosing to incarnate. And that's about all I'll get out of him. That he's no longer choosing to incarnate, that he'd had a couple of incarnations on Earth. Most of them were off-planet, but he won't talk about them because he says he doesn't relate to them and he doesn't want other people to project things onto him that are irrelevant and no longer. Does that make sense?
Yes. I've often
For him
heard,
it makes sense.
I've heard Bashar say, it's not about the messenger. It's about the message, and that's why Bashar's not materialized. Bashar doesn't want to become a savior. To the human race. we don't need to have that experience again. So that's a very interesting history. It's fascinating.
It is.
The Egypt thing. Yeah. Very cool.
Yes. I mean, he was a teacher of mine in Egypt, apparently as a spirit, but he could materialize and we would talk. And the information came from many different sources about that lifetime. And it's kind of almost irrelevant now except that when Torah first came through, it was so comfortable. It was like, I know this person, I know this guy, I know this persona, I know this being, and He came in a dream. Oh, I have to say this to people out there that might be just starting to channel. Many times, maybe it happened to you, Daniel, many times our unseen friends will come to us first in a dream before we even start to study channeling, you know? And that's what happened with Torah.
I had a pretty... go ahead, yeah.
Well, I'm curious. Tell me.
Yeah, no, I had a really... This was about 8 months before I actually spoke. I had this experience in the middle of the night. But first I had the dream where the creators weren't in the dream, but there was a guy that I knew through Abraham Hicks. He actually works for them. But I knew him through, because we both went to their workshops or on their cruises and stuff. And I look at this guy in the dream, and this dream was so vivid. And I said to him, I understand now about the other beings, because a lot of times when he would talk about ETs, I would kind of like tune out and roll my eyes and think, like I just didn't think it was interesting at all. And that's the entirety of the dream. I wake up from that dream and I start to feel energy moving through my body, like I was being scanned from head to toe. And it was completely orgasmic. I found myself lying there in bed begging for more of it because it was so good. And then eventually started to communicate with them and get the answers by receiving energy was a yes and not receiving energy was a no. So that was my initiation, and it was really fun. Yeah.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah. So let's talk about how you teach channeling now. How long have you been doing that for?
Well, at least 30 years. I've been channeling 33, so at least 30.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very
and again,
cool. And you have
related to the channeling process that I mentioned, I teach it as a 10-week course, and it's very developmental, and we start by having people achieve a very strong telepathic rapport first with their higher self, and then with the unseen friend. So the telepathic rapport comes first, and it's sort of like getting to know you. You did it energetically, but a lot of people it's telepathic. And so we start with that telepathic, work with that intensively, and then it at a certain point becomes energetic. And the people in class, I'd say 98% of them end up with direct voice channeling.
Oh, wow.
Where the energy actually comes through. And it takes dedication, because it's not something one takes on casually. It's a commitment to a relationship with spirit, and it's so beautiful that way. So beautiful.
Yeah.
So for me, doing it so many years, I never get tired of it, because there's always new wonderful people coming to class, and and there's always new wonderful entities coming through, and there's just so much love. I just love it.
It is fun. Yeah. You mentioned before you had your introduction to Torah, you had already established a relationship with your higher self. And
right.
What are you still in communication, or do you feel now that you become your higher self when you channel?
Not quite in those terms. I do have a separate relationship with my higher self than I have with Torah, and I maintain that very definitely so. And I don't know that I've never thought of it in those terms, that I become my higher self when I channel Torah. I don't think it's that way. Maybe my higher self is helping make that link. But the relationship with higher self helps channels prepare for channeling, because they get in touch with their self and their shadow material and their issues and their blockages. And and when those things can really be worked with, then people are more ready for, the awesomeness of a non-physical consciousness,
Mhm.
an unseen friend. But no, I think it's real important, and I tell my classes, keep in touch with your higher self, even after your vocal channeling. It's just my own personal preference that that's where it's so strong and so direct, and I have all kinds of miracles and things that happen with my higher self. They're wonderful.
Did you get a name for your higher self?
Well, the funny thing is, yes. When I was working with my higher self before Torah came through, I didn't quite realize it was my higher self. And I had a name I'd never heard before, and then, it's only in recent years have I heard that that's a real name in the Indian culture. I never knew that. But then when I found out and kind of realized, that was my higher self all along, then came another name. So sometimes people don't say the name of their higher self because it's like a very intimate connection. But and it's different. It's not with personality so much, and whereas entities we channel and unseen friends, they tend to have a persona and a personality, where higher self, it's a little more amorphous, a little more, how to say, doesn't usually have a personality. There's exceptions to that, but a lot of exceptions to that. One of the things Torah says about channeling and all of this is that there are general patterns and rules, but every single one of them can be broken, and usually is. In other words, you can't say 100% it's this and 100% it's that. It's like all the rules have been broken at one point or another. So.
Yeah, it's a bunch of different ways of looking at the same thing, I think.
Do you feel consciously connected to your higher self? Do you turn to your higher self in meditation and things like that now, Daniel?
I have not. I guess I don't consider, for the longest time, for me, I haven't really created the idea of myself in relationship to, for instance, I don't even think about my relationship to God. And ever since when we talk about being raised Catholic and having that relationship with God, where I was afraid of God, and now as an adult, I think I look at certain people and when I was reading autobiography of a yogi, and I thought about, wow, this guy, this Yogananda guy, he's just so interested in having this experience with God and or source or whatever you want to call all it is. And I've never had that desire to have relationships like that with. So, I don't really. When I walk in nature, I know I'm not alone. Because I'm always channeling when I'm walking in nature. It's it's going on no matter what's happening. So I feel now like I'm never alone, but I don't really foster any sort of relationship in that sense.
It's interesting you're saying this, and I'm surmising that a lot of that is due to your conditioning from Catholicism, and Catholicism makes God so outside of us, and as we know, the new metaphysics is very different than that. But I would propose that your relationship with all that is being beautifully expressed with your relationship with the founders and those that you channel.
Yeah.
That's your relationship to the greater spirit and source, and I'm sure that's a wonderful relationship. So it kind of came in the back
Yeah.
door, didn't it, Daniel?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Sort of.
Yeah.
You can't get away from source. No, I mean.
Right.
Yeah, because it sounds to me possibly that the conditioning for so many years that God is to be feared and revered, and you're separate from it, and you're always doing things to feel good enough, and get over the shame of being a human being, and all that folderol, all that stuff we're moving out of now. That here you have these wonderful unseen friends that are unconditionally loving, and now at last I can relate to Source.
Yeah.
In your own way, and that's really what we all have to do, isn't it? Is find our own way to connect with Source.
Yeah. And walking in nature is definitely one of those ways for me. It's so earlier today I did a 2-hour and 10-minute hike and jumped in the ocean, and I get to do that, and I just love that. That's my church now. That's where I go, and I get tuned in. And let's talk about tuning in. So you were in Tuning In.
Yeah,
you were in the movie with Daryl and Wendy and Lee and all these wonderful channels. That must have been quite an experience.
Oh, it was fun. It was really nice that David Thomas did that. I mean, he really took on quite a project. No one had done it before, and I really commend him for taking that on. It was well done, I think.
So beautiful.
A
Such
lot
a great,
of people thought, it's just really.
Yeah.
I have to tell you a funny story, Daniel. A really funny story. Because I'm somewhat low profile. I mean, I live my life and teach 5 classes a week and do a lot of private sessions. But anyway, I happened to be in England for crop circles, another big topic. And I was there, and I had just gotten off the airplane. I had driven 2 hours out to the country, and I wandered into the local pub where they still were serving food, and I was like staggering with jet lag. And I walk into this room filled with people, and there was live music, and people were dancing, and it was really loud. And this blonde girl looks at me, and she comes running across the room. "Oh my God, you're Shawn Randall! You're Shawn Randall!" And I said, "Yes." She said, "Are you really Shawn Randall?" I said, "Yes." She said, "Oh, I'm April. I saw Tuning In." And she was from Australia. So here's this girl from Australia in England. I'm from LA in England, and she was totally tuned in to Tuning In, and it really cracked me up. I thought it was so funny. I thought, it's such a small world now about channeling, thanks to David Thomas.
Yeah, I'm sure that introduced a lot of people to all of you, and I'm one of those people.
Oh, really? Oh, nice. Well, one of the beautiful things about that was sort of the unexpected surprise he got was that he discovered that all these wonderful entities had such similar things to say, but in their own unique different ways, that there was a coherence to the wisdom and the whole concept of the evolution of consciousness, what's happening on the planet. Really beautiful.
And for those of you who haven't seen it, I think it's available to watch on Vimeo, Vimeo. In fact, that's the last place I saw it. It was on YouTube at one time, but I don't think it's there anymore. It's so worth your hour and 25 minutes or whatever it is.
Daniel, do you know about the book? Do you know the book?
There's a book? No, I didn't.
Oh, listen to this. He wrote a book called Tuning In about filming the documentary. And in the book, he has the transcripts of the sessions unedited. The sessions with the entities is unedited in the book, and he talks about what he was going through when he was seeing all these different entities and talking to him, talking to them, and it's really a beautiful book. And then there's all these transcripts where you don't get just a piece of this and a piece of that and a couple of sentences here and one there, from the different entities, because he did some cutting.
Yeah.
And the book it's so full and it's wonderful. You check it out on Amazon.
And is it just called Tuning In the book, or? David, what's his last name?
Thomas, Thomas.
Okay.
David Thomas. He co-authored it with somebody else, and there's a subtitle besides Tuning In. But
okay, I'm looking it up right now.
Oh, good.
Book.
Oh, yeah, book. Your listeners would love to read it, because there it is, all in print, and these wonderful transcripts from the entities, sort of uninterrupted. You can really read
and
it.
And there's a Kindle. There's a Kindle of this book, so you can download it right away. It's called Tuning In, and the subtitle is A Journalist, 6 Trans-Channelers, and Messages from the Other Side. And it is by David Thomas and Matthew Klink. Like Colonel Klink. Anyway, I haven't seen that last name before, so yeah, so that looks awesome. How great!
Yeah, I think you'll enjoy
it. There's a guy who's doing interviews like that. He's interviewed Wendy Kennedy and Nora Harold, and he's going to interview our friend Rob Gauthier in Asheville. I'll have to let him know that you're available too, if you are, because he does these little.
Absolutely.
He puts together, and this is a guy. He's an actor and filmmaker, and he was the stunt double in Avatar for the main guy. So he's been in a lot of things. And I watched the Wendy Kennedy interview and the Nora Harold interview, and I'm sure he used to be living in Los Angeles area, so maybe he still is, and he could just pop on over to where you are. And you do your classes in person and over the internet, or how do you?
I do them in person for a lot of different reasons. They're in my office in the LA area. There's a lot to be said for the group dynamic. Usually we have 10 to 12 people, and it really provides a consciousness field that makes it easier for the entities to align. And that's one piece of it. But also, it just seems to work better for a lot of the transitions in the actual process itself. So I don't teach it online yet. I would be happy to teach it to a certain point online, but when it comes to the energy coming through, you need to have it be in person.
Yeah,
Torah does a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
It definitely makes a big difference, because I've done events in person with people, where I've channeled, and I've done them over the phone, and it's a huge difference to have all those people sitting there pulling the energy through and holding the space, and it's really great that you're offering it in person. So, and you're in the Los Angeles area, so anyone who lives in the Los Angeles area, she has a class coming up soon in May, right?
Right, May 2nd, Saturday afternoon, May 2nd. And, a lot of people, some people fly in, people drive in. I have a gal that comes in from Palm Springs. There's a guy right now that drives all the way down from Fresno. And so a lot of people are happy to travel once a week for 10 weeks,
And you do a little traveling. You go down to Laguna Hills for some of your stuff. I'm looking at your website right now. That must be a hike.
It's
from Woodland Hills.
A couple hours. It's not bad at all. I like it down there. It's a beautiful center.
Yes.
Some former students of mine run it and are the excellent channels themselves. There's a high level of integrity there. And it's really nice. Awakenings, that's the Awakenings Metaphysical Bookstore, if anybody's listening, in Laguna Hills.
Yeah. There are people listening.
No, I mean, I meant to say anybody from Laguna. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I actually I have a bit of a following down there, and they do listen to my show. I used to channel down in North San Diego County a lot, Carlsbad, Encinitas, and I've done some channeling in Laguna as well. So there are definitely people down there who could be tuning in right now to the show. And Shawn's website, it's Shawn with a W, so it's ShawnRandall, just like you would think Randall would be spelled. So you can check out all of her events, which there are plenty to choose from.
ShawnRandall.com.
.com, of course. Of course, the .com is in there too. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. I feel like I'm ready for some Torah.
I do too.
Unless there's something else you want to talk about before we get started here.
No, I'm happy to go into trance.
Yeah, we have 4 people lined up right now with their hands up. Anyone else who's listening, you want to call in and get in line to talk to Torah, it's 347-308-8788. And as I say that, another hand goes up. So call in and raise your hand, and I'll be the go-between here and unmute people. And so Shawn just needs a little time to go into the trance state, and so we'll just I'll be quiet for that time.
See you later.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we'll say greetings, and greetings indeed then to you, dear one. A pleasure to be here with you. And, maybe there are others listening, of course. A pleasure to be here with all of you, certainly so. A joy as well. So we're just going to turn it right to you, dear Daniel, and have you begin in any way that you wish. And we want to express our gratitude for you allowing us to be here. So a pleasure. And how would you like to begin?
Well, before we go to the callers with their questions, let's just get your impressions of what's been going on here energetically with the eclipse and the equinox and all the other moon stuff that's happening. And I know a lot of people have been experiencing the energies differently. I've been not getting as much sleep as I normally do, but still feeling like I have plenty of energy, just also having that kind of tiredness too as I'm moving through the day.
Yes. Well, and certainly an intensification of energies, absolutely so. And you combine the equinox with the new moon and an eclipse, and you've got a triple whammy there. So the way we've been talking about it is that it is an increased time of choice, meaning that as you use this amplification time, this intensification time with some specific choices that one wants to make, then they can be, really amplified. The choices are more likely to come forward and manifest in follow-up and manifestation. And so the idea of making a commitment, a choice as a commitment to something that one wants to create in one's life, that one wants to create in one's personal growth, perhaps, or health, or anything, any area across the spectrum, any choice that an individual chooses to make at this time is going to be highly amplified. Now, mind you, it's sort of coming to the edge of it here. the equinox being Friday, and here it is Monday, but nevertheless, a little bit on the periphery right now of that energy. So it can still be used, and we'd say really, we'd just recommend those listening to make a very specific choice of something wonderful you want to create or manifest. Write it down, maybe sign it, date it, something that expresses the idea you're making a commitment to manifest this. And realize that then you have all the support of all this extraordinary astrological energy, astronomical, and the solar system big time supporting you. Nothing like having the solar system support you. Nothing like being in the flow. Nothing like the Tao, as it were. And so, with regard to sleep, yes, a lot of people have been feeling that sense of maybe for some edginess, and many times that's like being in a power place, a power spot on the planet where things are amplified. So we see it as a time of amplified whatever's going on with someone. If that's success or pleasant feelings, then that could be amplified. But if it is also shadow arising, oh yes, some of those old bugaboos, self-pity, doubt, lack of self-trust, the inner critics, the inner judges, some of those things coming up for people, well, it's not that the eclipse is bringing it, it's that the intensification is in a sense amplifying it and bringing it to one's awareness, and we'd say respond to it and work with it. But also, again, it can be the idea of expansion, the sense of, and here's the other big energy besides choice that we feel is part of this time. New beginnings. It's really an extraordinary time of new beginnings. Really. Of course, all equinoxes and solstices are like new beginnings, certainly so, but this one all the more because of that new moon, the rareness of it, what doesn't come along for over 400 years, every other, very rare also to have an eclipse at that time, all of it very rare. So new beginnings are really stressed at this time. That's why we say use the new beginnings to make a really powerful, positive, conscious choice and commit to it.
Well, it's really interesting that you brought up manifestation, because when I was hiking today, I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about how if every time I go on this hike, I want, because there are tons of coconut trees along the way, and all the coconuts that land are up for grabs. It's public land, and I'm thinking if every time that I go on this hike, I want 2 coconuts to fall in a place where my, it is in, I can easily see, and I'll have just ask for my higher self to turn my head at the appropriate moment. They don't have to fall right in front of me, but to just be on the ground, recently fallen, for me to find. And then I thought, okay, so if that's what I want to manifest, then how much do I then need to raise my frequency or focus on that particular outcome in order for it to happen? Or do I just put it out there and let it go and then just never think about it again, and then, I guess comes into faith at that point or something?
Well, there's really 2 ways to manifest. By consciously manifesting, which would be putting some effort and some technique into it, but then also people create things by allowing it. So sometimes you can just say, wait a minute, on all the levels of me, I want these 2 coconuts. On all the levels, on my level of conscious mind, subconscious, unconscious, higher conscious, all the levels of me want these coconuts. I'm going to allow it. I'm just simply going to allow that it will occur. But then there's the other way, too, which is doing something that would be, say, a manifestation technique that might be one's favorite, whatever that one might be, visualization techniques or crystal grids or focusing, however, where you put a little more effort into it. So that's sort of another approach. Both are quite good, of course. So we could say, Daniel, you could trade off and see which ones work for you.
Yeah.
Consciously creating or allowing it.
Yeah, and I also, then I was thinking about, because then I was swimming in the ocean thinking, oh, it'd be really nice to have a big old sea turtle come and swim with me. And today it didn't happen, but on my way back, on the hike back, I was thinking, well, I put it out there, but then it doesn't necessarily mean that it has to happen today. So then there's what I've noticed in my life is sometimes, things I've asked for, they come, but they come at a certain time, and it's not necessarily, we're not experiencing instant manifestation at this point in human evolution. So I just wanted to add that little piece. Do you have anything to say about that?
Of course, one thing, when you're talking about a turtle, you're talking about another life form, another species, another consciousness. So one thing that you could do in a case like that is to align your consciousness with the consciousness of the life form that you choose to have coming in around you, and sort of go in meditation to that wonderful subatomic interconnectedness and correlation with that other consciousness and draw it to you. That would be fun to try. That's what some friends of ours do with the dolphins, you see.
And that's ultimately why. Yeah, that's ultimately why I want to have that experience in the physical too. Is because I like their energy. So why not tune into their energy while they're not necessarily in my immediate physical surroundings? That's a great idea. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, so we have callers patiently waiting here, and I'm going to take the first one. Let's see who's been on hold the longest here. If you're calling from the 512 area code, you are now being unmuted, and you're on.
Hello.
Yeah.
Greetings indeed. Could we ask you, could we begin with your first name and age, please?
Yes. I'll give you my entire name, Torah, and hi, Daniel. Torah, my name is Jennifer Marie Morgan, and my birth date is in 1876.
1976. All right. And what's your question?
Well, it's my question is everything that your conduit, Shawn and Daniel have been speaking about tonight. I've been saying yes. Shirley MacLaine was off limits. She was a cuckoo, and I've gotten to this point of rapidness, right? And it's been subsequent. I actually called in and spoke with Daniel on a private or a group thing the other day as he was channeling. And this has been over maybe a year and a half time, starting with Spiritual Catalyst. And in the past month, Torah, everything has, it's like I'm through a speed tunnel of. So I guess one, I want to apologize to my higher self because I'm kind of blocking some stuff. But
what do you mean by whoa? When you say the last month has been whoa, what can you explain a little more what you're talking about?
Well, okay, so sure, absolutely, Torah. Everything's happening at once, meaning I graduate with my Master's Healthcare Administration degree in 5 weeks. I just asked my partner to leave on February 15th. I have a brand new house. I've meditated to others' enlightenment, to the Akashic records of just only a few times of meditating. Everything is happening. Like I have gotten to this understanding all of a sudden in just a short amount of time, and so I stopped eating meat. Like, I started, like, my partner's gone. I have this huge house by myself now. And it's what is happening. And I'm writing my master's degree. What your conduit was saying earlier was referring to somebody who is writing their dissertation about channeling. And I said, shut the F up, because I'm writing my master's thesis about basically anti-pharmacopoeia and how our brains can heal ourselves. So it goes through all of the, traditional Chinese medicine. It goes through all these other alternative treatment options, and then resulting in proven, placebo effect and Gandhi and the Buddha, and it's like everything is coming to me now, and it's crazy. It's like so much.
So, right. So are you ready for a little input on this?
I would love a bunch of input.
Okay. So, dear one, well, it is a very exciting time. First of all, it's very important for you to sort of reframe in your mind the way you think about this time, so that you don't feel overwhelmed. Yes, there are a lot of changes happening to you, and many times when there are several changes happening all at once, it can be very disorienting, especially even when those changes are wonderful changes and revelations, and you're having so many revelations, and you're on the accelerated spiritual path. Things are coming to you. Probably you're having at least 10 synchronicities a day. How do I keep up with all these synchronicities, you say? What do I do? Well, you write them down, for one thing. But at any rate, it is really exciting what's happening to you. Very important for you, Jennifer, that you don't let it disempower you, that you just say, this is a very big acceleration I'm in. There's a lot of things going on. It's like a carpet, a thick tapestry in your life going on, thicker than before. And we like to call these kinds of times that you're in heavy traffic. Heavy traffic, okay, no big deal. I adjust to the heavy traffic. I've got the heavy traffic. I put in the signals. I stop. I go when I want to. I'm in charge of the heavy traffic. And you are, Jennifer. In other words, clearly because it's an accelerated path that involves more wisdom coming in, more connection with your higher self that's conscious, that you're aware of. A lot of guidance coming to you, by the way, in the writing of your thesis. It's very exciting. And stay with that, trust that guidance that you're getting, and which resource am I going to use, and ask your own intuition and ask your higher self, show me another book. I need another book for reference in my thesis, and you'll get it from them. So you're in this heightened time of access to positive resources, right? Resources beyond yours. So you're expanding your own consciousness at this time. It's very exciting time. Very exciting time. And what you want to do is say, I can keep up with this. It's only heavy traffic. It's only heavy traffic. And you know from driving in heavy traffic, and no doubt you've driven in heavy traffic, who hasn't, is that it comes to an end. There comes a time when it's done. There comes a time when, I can breathe again, and things are normal again, and life takes on some nice, gentle rhythms, and it's so beautiful, etc., etc. Is this making sense to you?
If there were more than 100%, I would say more than that. Yes.
Excellent.
in our calculations on this planet, there is nothing more than 100%. That's how we say it. So, but yes, more than 100%.
110%. Who created?
Sure.
There's 110. Excellent. And it's really wonderful. The main thing is not to give your power up to the heavy traffic, to just remember, I'm in charge of it. I created all these wonderful things happening. I've created these things consciously and by allowing. And I can also create moving through this busy heavy traffic time easily. I can create moving through it easily. Nice new affirmation for you for today. I can create moving through this heavy traffic easily.
Like it.
All right.
Good. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you so much,
Torah, for that.
Thanks, Daniel, and thank you, Torah, for...
Much love to you, dear Jennifer. Much love to you, dear one.
All right.
All right. Well done. Okay, let's move on now to the next caller, who's been on hold for 45 minutes. So if you're calling from the 609 area code, I'm unmuting you. Hello.
Hello.
Hello there, dear one. Welcome to you, and gold star for patience today.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Could we have your name and age, please? First name.
Sure.
Fine.
My name is Susan, and I'm 45.
Okay, Susan. What's your question?
I don't know if this is too, if you need something more general, or just trying to figure out my purpose or which direction I need to go.
Okay. As we tune into you and look at you, dear one, it looks like you are waiting to be ignited, waiting to be inspired. And that's a wonderful place to be because you're open. But, however, you're letting a little fear come in, and we want to say, whoops, remember that all fear is a story you're telling yourself. And when you are in search of inspiration and something to ignite you, something to be excited about, something to focus upon, realize that that search wants you to continue its searching. In other words, the seeking becomes finding. The seeking becomes finding, but you want to keep seeking. In other words, you don't just throw up your hands and say, oh, well, gee, I don't know what I'm going to do, so I'm just going to stay home. You want to keep seeking. You want to still keep moving out there, seeking things that are going to be a stronger, clearer path to you. Do you do Reiki?
I do.
That's what we're looking at. And as we look at that, we see that what we're looking at here is that it looks like your metaphysical spiritual path, sort of by way of Reiki, is wanting to grow. It's like you're wanting to invest more in it, more of your time, more of your energy, not just in the Reiki, but all that it represents, all that it is a microcosm for, the macrocosm of interconnectedness in that regard. And we'd say keep going in that direction, because there is a healer within you, dear one. There's a healer within you that really wants to come out and express itself more. And so that's what we'd say, is to keep following that. Don't worry too much about the exact form of healer that it's going to take yet. Just keep training, keep studying, keep working, keep bringing the energy of the wonderful work and the universal energies that you work with. Bring it through. Just let it keep expanding. The form will follow the function. Starts with function. I'm functioning to do this, and I'm functioning with a sense of purpose, a sense of healer purpose, and the form is going to follow. Does that make sense to you? In other words, we don't want to say to you that we see you hanging up a shingle and doing X, Y, Z in literal terms. We'd rather say to you, stay in that flow of discovery that you're in, trusting yourself, trusting the sense of that healer within you. And realize, dear one, we want to say to you specifically, Susan, that the healer within you is very valuable, very rich, very filled with love. There's a huge amount of love in your heart that you're not allowing to come flowing out right now. And the minute you do, it's just going to really, really be absolutely wonderful for you. Manifest in all sorts of magical inspiration. It will come. All right?
Okay.
Hopefully you've recorded some of these words so you can play it again and let it in. Let it in. Just really let it in.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Beautiful answer. Let's see who's been on hold the longest now. Okay, 619 area code. I think there might be a couple of you, but 619. You are now on the air. Hello.
Hi there.
Hi.
Hi.
Greetings and welcome.
Yeah,
And who is this?
Oh, thank you. My name is Donna.
Donna.
Yeah.
And where are you in this life path? What is your age, please, Donna?
Oh, I am 47.
Okay. What's your question then, dear one?
Well, I can't really find a specific one. I thought maybe I would just leave it open and get any insight.
Well, a vague question will get a vague answer. So the more specific the question, the more specific the answer. Take a bold, daring step.
Well, I'm going to be moving shortly, like this week or next week, and I'm going to be moving. I'm not sure where that's going to be yet, and getting a new job. So, if
you're moving from where to where? Moving from where
to
where?
I'm moving just at. It's California. I'm moving to San Diego. It's about an hour away, and just anything in regards to the change that I'm going through right now.
Well, why are you moving?
Why? Oh, my daughter's there, for one, and there's just more opportunity.
In San Diego?
Yeah.
Okay. So you want to know something about the move.
Mm-hmm.
Are you excited about the move?
I mean, I need a change. I'm excited because I am feeling like I'm just stagnant where I'm at right now. So a little bit nervous. Yeah.
Right. Realize this is something you are choosing and you are creating, and therefore you can create it to be any way you want it to be. Meaning that what we sense about the reason we asked you, are you excited about it, is that we didn't sense you were very excited about it, that there's more trepidation than excitement. So we'd like to sort of help you get over that hump, meaning let yourself get excited. This is a whole new chapter you're coming into, and you're writing the chapter. So it can be very exciting. As we look at your energy, it's sort of like 50-50. 50% it's going to go well, 50% it's going to be with a little bit of struggle. So what we're saying is that what's going to determine which way it goes for you is going to be your attitude about it and how you're viewing this move. And because you have this trepidation, we'd say you could have some mixed energies. So what you want to do is really, really, really move to the excitement and optimism about it that's within you. Find that part of you that's optimistic and excited. Wow, I'm going to be in a new place, and there's new opportunity, and I'll be around my daughter more, and there's going to be more love, more interaction. And what we see about that also, Donna, is that you there's a sense of your higher self really wanting you to make this move. It's almost like you're being dragged kicking and screaming into the move, but your higher self is saying, oh no, this is the way to go. And it's challenging for you because it's going to be challenging you to rise to the level of a greater self within you, a larger self of Donna. A larger Donna, not physically, a larger Donna is going to be able to come into play in San Diego. The larger Donna. In other words, the smaller self, the smaller Donna, the small self is sort of where you're living now, getting by, going along, life is nice, ho-hum, but moving is this opportunity to step into your grander self. And that's why we say your higher self is all on board with this. Really wants you to step into your grander self. Can you feel that?
I will. Oh, yeah, that was helpful. Thank you. That opened my eyes to
very good.
So.
Excellent.
Thank you.
And we'd say one more thing, watch your diet. Watch what you're eating.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Very good, Donna. That's lovely.
Thanks, Donna. Wonderful answer, Torah, and it brought up a question that I was thinking about when we were talking about the manifestation question earlier. And sometimes I think to myself, well, I want this. I want to have this experience, but I don't know whether or not it serves my highest good to have that experience. And so I often think that my higher self certainly does know whether something serves me or not to experience. And so it was interesting to me that you brought up the higher self in saying, okay, this isn't just something that you want, but it's also something that your higher self is sort of nudging you towards. And are there ways for us to come into alignment or an awareness of what our higher self knows is actually going to serve us the most?
Well, it can be as simple as asking. It can be as simple as closing your eyes and counting yourself down. Just imagining yourself walking on a beach and meeting with your higher self, and let it be like a personification that is there, smiling at you, loving you, and ask, is this course of action I'm about to take for my highest good? And remember, the highest good is always about love and growth. If there's fear and protection attached to it, then it's not going to be your highest good. It might be okay, but if there's a motivation or an action coming from fear and protection, that's not as coming from the larger you, expanded you, like love and growth. So if it's something that you are wanting or one is wanting to move toward, and it is out of a love and growth intention and motivation, then it's going to be for your higher good. And your higher self will give you a high five on it.
Very good.
Sometimes the higher self... We're just going
to
say that sometimes the higher self will talk on in a visual way, like a high five. Who knows? Okay, carry on. Sorry.
Yes. Okay. So we'll take another call now from the 561 area code. You are being unmuted. Hello.
Good evening. Thank you for taking my call. Hi, Tara, and hi, Daniel.
Hello.
Welcome. Could we have your first name and age, please?
Yes, I'm Gail, 53.
Okay. Gail, what's your question? Welcome to you, dear one.
Thank you. I would like to see, how does my higher self feel about finding love in the near future?
Fine. How does your higher self feel about it? Higher self, so tell us, you're seeking love in relationship, is that correct? Or?
Yes, I have been single for many years.
Of course, there's great growth that comes from being in a relationship. There's also great growth that comes from not being in a relationship, so that one is, free, with freer time for relationship with spirit. So you are not lacking right now, Gail, that you don't have a relationship. You are not lacking. We want to start there. You're not in lack, unless you believe yourself to be in lack, right? And that's what we feel about you, is the importance of valuing yourself right now. Because as you step into increased sense of self-value, now we're not talking about ego or hubris, but as you step into increased self-value, you'll be radiating that, which will then attract someone into your life. But if you are approaching it from a needy place, I really need someone, I really want them, then of course it's very difficult to attract the proper partner. So the idea of becoming full within yourself, being connected to the masculine and feminine parts of your own self, feeling that you bring your whole self into the scene, onto the scene to create a relationship. I'm showing up to create a relationship as my whole self, my valued self, the part of me that really values myself, feels myself to be expanded, etc. That as you show up for that, that's when you're going to be attracting someone. And of course, well, your higher self is on board with either way. Your higher self will support you whether you're in a relationship or not. Your higher self is always there to give you unconditional love, no matter what. No matter what. So you can ask your higher self to help you to feel valued, to feel the fuller self, to feel the more balanced self, so that when you put yourself out there to date someone, or however you're approaching it, that again, you show up radiating your fullness. Show up in your fullness, dear one. Show up in your fullness. Ask your higher self to help you. Radiate your fullness. Higher self, help me radiate my fullness. Help me radiate my warm heart. And you do. Oh, Gail, you have a beautiful warm heart. You don't let it show very much. So maybe your higher self would like you to say, let's see, maybe. Ah, yes, show that loving heart. Show your love. Show your warmth. Show your fun. Show the humor part of you. Let it come out. That's your value. That's the beauty of you, dear Gail. Okay?
Thank you.
You're so welcome. It's exciting once you really turn on those wonderful warm vibes. Oh, well, nothing will stop you.
Thank you.
Most welcome. All right.
Yes, thanks, Gail. Yeah, wonderful answer, Torah. I loved it. Okay, let's see who else has been very patient here. 516 area code. You are now live with us. A question?
Hi, thank you for taking my call.
Yeah.
You would like to know my name. It's Mary Ellen, and you want to know my age? Well, I will be 61 next month.
All right. Congratulations. Welcome, Mary Ellen. A pleasure to be with you, Mary Ellen. What would you like to ask?
I would like to know, I feel as if I'm getting the calling to express and explore my intuitiveness, possibly with tarot cards and do readings. I am a Reiki master, and I have explored very much of the Eastern, Western medicine realm, being a nurse and just exploring. And I was wondering if you could help me with that.
Sure. As we tune in and look at you, Mary Ellen, we want to say that what you're needing most of all right now is self-confidence. And that self-confidence of your intuitive self is there just sort of waiting to be uncovered and discovered. The self-confidence waiting to be uncovered and discovered. And the best way to do that is, first of all, to recognize and realize, I am in search of uncovering and discovering my self-confidence. That's number one. Number two is to do some good, solid training. So you've done some good, solid training with the Reiki work. You're a Reiki master, and you're very aware that the training has brought results, that you learned focusing and concentration, many things that have allowed you to come so far. Same would be for the tarot. Same would be for any of the other tools you might use to bring forth your intuitive insights. So we'd say the training is going to build the self-confidence and then just doing it. very important to do it. Practice with anyone you can grab your hands onto. Let me practice with you. You're my good friend, my sister, my brother, whoever. Practice on everyone and anyone. So that's what we recommend. Also, in the same idea, we talk about self-confidence for you in particular, waiting to uncover it and discover it. We'd say to not allow any lack of self-confidence to diminish your drive. Don't allow it to diminish your drive. Just keep going forward. Stay with the training. Oh, so many wonderful things you'll learn as you did with Reiki. And in that regard, stay with it, stay with it, stay with it. Seek to be inspired by what you discover and uncover. Seek to be inspired by your own self-confidence growing every day. And then you're going to find a lot more results. It's your biggest enemy is going to be a malaise that can come along as a result of lack of self-confidence. But once you know, no, I'm just focusing on that training, that self-confidence, that practice, trust, and patience, I'm going to do it. That's our big three: practice, trust, and patience. And you can put them in any order. It's what we tell our channeling classes. You've got to practice, you build the trust, and you have patience. Or you have patience to practice and build the trust, but it comes back to practice, trust, and patience. And the practice, trust, and patience that you apply yourself to is going to build all that self-confidence that you want, Mary Ellen.
Thank you.
It's there for you,
Wonderful.
dear one. Just stay on track, and you'll be fine.
Thank you very much. Namaste.
And
Namaste
to you,
to you.
namaste. Yes, absolutely, namaste.
Yeah, I was in one of those places where I was practicing Reiki on whoever. It didn't matter if they were in the room, because I just realized how much energy I could feel in my body if I did. And that was one of the things that led to my verbal channeling. So I was one of those people who was just sending it out long distance, doing it on whoever would take it. And it definitely worked for me. So I can confirm that advice.
Yes.
Let's see. Yeah. So let's see now. Is there anyone else on hold here? Oh, yeah. We've got 512 area code. You are now on the air. Oh, no. I'm sorry. You were just on the air. I have to make a note by each of the phone numbers who's been already called on. Okay. 604 area code. You are now live.
Hi. How are you?
Hi. Good.
Hi. Good. My name is Helene, and hi, Daniel. And hi, Torah. I'm soon to be 54. And the question is, I used to swim in the ocean, and with the amazing connection for me. And I really
I'm having a difficulty with the connection. It keeps cutting out.
I'm sorry. I'll maybe speak a little louder. I'll try. But I have a strong connection to the ocean, and I'm concerned about radiation, and also if there is a concern in the West Coast Ocean, and my connection to the ocean. Kind of wondering.
Which ocean are you swimming in?
The Pacific off of the West Coast, the Pacific Ocean.
Off the west coast of the mainland, or Hawaii, or?
Off of British Columbia. The British Columbia, Washington. I'm off of British Columbia.
And you swim in the ocean. You're concerned about the water?
I'm concerned about radiation from Fukushima and radiation buildup. I'm wondering if there is a concern, kind of thing.
Not enough to be concerned about. As we look at it there, no, not at all. The Fukushima is now so moderated, so very quelled, no concerns there. But our concern is your concern. We'd be concerned that you have some sort of a fear story going. So what we like to tell people is be aware of any fear stories you might be telling yourself and reverse them, because it's only a story. It's not true. There is no fear story that is true because it hasn't happened yet. Fear stories are about the future, right? Which hasn't happened yet. Therefore, it's not true. And so, therefore, you can change the story. So, for you, Helene, we want to say, swim as much as you like. And, by the way, it looks like you could be or should be, or it would be lovely for you to be teaching swimming. Do you do that? Have you done that? Have you been around the opportunity to teach others to swim in the ocean?
I haven't. I love to float and meditate in the ocean, so maybe that kind of thing.
Wouldn't that be wonderful? Can you imagine somebody who says, I'm going to teach you to meditate and float in the ocean? You would have people signing up like crazy. What a beautiful thing.
That's true. That's a very beautiful thing. Thank you.
A very beautiful thing.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for erasing my fear story.
Yes. Thank you for taking it on to erase it. Yes. You go. Wonderful. Thank you, Helene.
Yeah. Thank you, Helene. It's nice to hear from you. Okay, we have time for one more caller, and we have one more caller on hold. I love it when that happens. So let's take the 303 area code. Hello.
Hi, thanks for taking my call. Hope everybody's doing well. I had a question regarding love in a relationship, specifically with someone that I recently
would you mind starting with your first name and age, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Michelle, and I'm 45.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. What's your question?
And I wanted to know what you see for love for me, specifically with someone that I recently reconnected with about a month ago. If you see anything with that.
Well, first of all, we prefer, rather than functioning as a clairvoyant, to function as one who could coach you to create the reality you wish.
Okay.
And as we look at this, we see that there's some doubts you have about this individual. And it's almost like you're waiting for those doubts to take care of themselves. But what we like to say about doubt is don't doubt, find out. Nice bumper sticker. Don't doubt, find out. In other words, where you have doubts about this person, either inquire or meditate on it, but focus on it rather than just sort of willy-nilly going along and saying, I'm just going to stay stuck in the doubt, right?
Right, I am trying to find out, so.
Oh, are you? Good. So keep going. And then once you reach the tipping point with this person, meaning a permission point, because it looks like you haven't given yourself full permission to go full throttle with this individual because of these doubts, various, whatever they are. But once you do, if you have that tipping point of like, okay, everything's fine, full speed ahead, once you reach that point, which you're not there yet, but once you do, realize that it's still up to you to create it. There are no guarantees in relationship. It's the most fluid thing in the world, love relationships. Oh, so many changes, always for everyone. They take constant growth, constant work, and it's wonderful because it's filled with love, of course. So, but once that sense of sureness, like some of your major questions answered, some of the major doubts resolved, then you're still focusing on moving forward with a sense of commitment inside your own heart to work on the relationship, commitment to work on the relationship. In other words, like, it doesn't mean that everything's going to be perfect, but it means that you can approach it like a conscious creator of your reality. And for you, we also want to say, Michelle, one thing you're going to want to look for is, let your inquiring mind be expressed in a positive way with this person, rather than coming from a negativity or the past relationship you had with this person. Let it go. Let it go altogether. Let it be really new. And talk to the person about it.
Okay.
Do you think this person is really as focused on you as you on them?
Probably. Well, I don't know, because things kind of ended up in the air, so I don't know where he is. That's kind of what I'm trying to find out.
When did they end up in the air? How long ago?
About the 6th of February was when I saw him, and I froze up in front of him and couldn't talk. So he said he would be back, and then he got pulled away to go somewhere else, and so I think there's some chemistry there, but where it'll go, I don't know yet. So.
Yes, this is a tricky situation. It's not solid. It's not on solid ground, that's for sure. I
mean, I don't know if it'll be a friendship or a relationship. I'd like him in my life in some capacity, but, that's kind of what I need to find out.
Right. So what we're wanting to say is jump into the driver's seat of your creatorhood, There's this wonderful word, creator, and then there's creatorship, your creatorship. And if you think of your creatorship like a ship, that you can step to the helm of it, put your hands on the wheel and say, I'm driving this ship. I'm driving this creatorship.
Right.
And you want to clean up a little more from the past with him. And as we were saying to another caller, show up as your greater self, your larger self, your wiser self. And rather than throw it to the fates and say, well, I'll wait and see what happens, start with an intention of what you want to have happen and work from that point of view. It sounds like you would like it to have happened, but there's all these doubts going on. So that's the process of disclosure when you get with him and talk with him, to be open. And we want to say to you, Michelle, don't be afraid to ask things of him. Don't be afraid to ask information. It's just information. Don't be afraid to ask him and say, let's have a conversation and maybe a disclosure conversation about each other, ourselves, and I'll tell you about myself, you can tell me about yourself. In other words, time to meet face to face. You'll know when it's that time. It's not quite there yet, but you'll know when it's that time. And if you come from the position, again, of standing at the helm of your creatorship, saying, I want to create this relationship to be wonderful. I really, really do. I want it to go forward. Then let it line up that way from your intentions. And if he doesn't seem to be on board with that, then let it go. Let it go. Again, this is sort of a 50-50 situation. Can go either way. No guarantees on this one. And if you focus in on it and really work with it, and then it doesn't start to happen, cut it free, because there's some wonderful people out there, Michelle.
Okay. Well, I thank you very much for the insights.
Yes, and thank you for stepping up to the helm of your creatorship.
You're welcome. Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Daniel,
okay, Torah, that was great.
It's fun to think about one's creatorship, isn't it, as a ship. It can be like a large boat, a vessel in the water, or it can be a flying ship in the air, stepping to the helm of one's creatorship.
Yeah, it's really empowering.
Well, this is that time of choice, as we said earlier. You're talking about the equinox, etc., making a choice, stepping to the helm, getting there, making choices and decisions that then you act upon. in the inner world and then the outer world, yes, acting upon them in the inner world by, well, as you were talking about, acknowledging that an intention is coming from your higher good, and that it is for your growth and coming from love and coming from an expanded place in you. And those sorts of intentions and focuses and decisions then, of course, get so much support from all the energies around you, don't they?
Yes. Well, I want to thank you, Torah, for coming on with us and answering all those questions. That was so wonderful. It just went so well and everything flowed. And if we could bring Shawn back, then Shawn and I can wrap things up. But I wanted to say thank you.
Well, Daniel, we thank you so very much. It's such an opportunity to speak to others. We love the opportunity to speak to others, and it's such a delight to speak with you, dear one. Oh, yes, such a delight. Stay with it. Stay with that channeling relationship. It's beautiful, beautiful. And so we'll depart as we always do, wishing you, yes, you, Daniel, and everyone else that might be there, our love. Much love then to all. Much, much love indeed.
Very much received. And right back at you.
Okay. Coming back.
Hello.
Coming back. Hello. I think I'm coming
back.
How did it go?
How are you feeling? It was good.
Oh, wonderful.
It was really nice. Yeah, I was delighted to have the opportunity to speak with Torah, and they just handled all the callers so beautifully. It just was wonderful. Everyone got to ask their question, and I was very pleased with all of it. So thank you for bringing them through. Yeah.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. It's so delightful. It's really nice. I love channeling this way over the phone or on webcast. Once we were in Mexico City, and I was a little concerned because, first of all, the requests were coming through on email to the host of the show, who was speaking it in Spanish to a translator, who then translated the question to Torah. So I thought, how is he going to tune in? When the email, the Spanish, and then what happened was, it just didn't even make a difference. The minute he'd hear the question in English, he was right with that person who had emailed it. It was, it just amazed me. I don't know, Spirit can do so many wonderful things. So it's really fun.
Yeah. Well, let's let people know how they can find you again. But for those who are just tuning in now, we have your website here. That's www. ShawnRandall.com, ShawnRandall.com. I am starting a new channeling class if you're in the LA area on May 2nd. That's on a Saturday. I don't have that date yet on my website. I actually announced it in April, but it's going to be, we're rolling it over to right the beginning of May. And so it'll be May 2nd. And also, I should mention, I do crop circle tours for those who are interested in crop circles in England. And Daniel, at some point, you might be interested in doing a show about crop circles. I'd be happy to talk. I did my master's degree on them, and really all about consciousness and evolution. So I think it would be right up your listeners' alley, maybe, hopefully. So something to think about. I think that's a great idea.
It's a very exciting topic.
Yeah, they're fascinating. They're beautiful. I love it.
And probably the greatest mystery on our planet today.
Yeah, very, very hot topic. Those crop circles. Yeah, so there's all sorts of stuff on her website, ShawnRandall.com, for people to explore. And if you just want to see Shawn channel, you can find the Tuning In movie somewhere online right now. I'm sure I saw it on Vimeo once and saw it on YouTube once before. And
there's a couple other little clips. I think if you search me on YouTube, I think there's a couple other little clips up there somewhere. I'm not as prolific on YouTube as you are, which is wonderful, Daniel. You have so much. That's great. I've got to get. I have it. I just haven't been able to get the help to get it up there yet, and I have to choose some of the clips to put up. But there'll be some more soon. But there's some things on YouTube now, I think.
There are. I'm looking at you right now on YouTube. A few came up. Yeah.
Oh, good.
There's someone else named Shawn Randall out there, apparently.
There's a musician.
Poetry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no, performs at the Poetry Club. Okay, yeah. A musician, yeah.
A man.
Yeah, male, with the same spelling. That's interesting.
It is interesting. Came up about 5 years ago.
Oh, well, it's so fun having you on, and we'll definitely have you on again if you want to come on and maybe do a crop circle show. That'd be great.
Sure. I'd be happy to have Torah back, too. So thank you so much for inviting me. I really appreciate it. It's so wonderful of you, Daniel, and channeling and these beautiful topics out to so many people this way. It's truly, truly wonderful.
Yeah, it is. All right, then. Well, I'm going to say goodbye to Shawn for now, and then we're going to do our announcements for the network. So, Shawn, thanks once again.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
All right, I'll talk to you later. Okay, everyone else. This is... Oh, I forgot all the things I was supposed to say at the beginning. So let me say them now. Today is March 23rd, 2015. This show is a part of the Enlightenment Evolution Network, but the thoughts and opinions and beliefs and everything else expressed on the show do not necessarily reflect upon those of the Enlightenment Evolution Network. Tomorrow's show on this network is Soulfulpreneur Radio with Rachel Archelaus and Megan Crandallmeyer, and they have a guest on named Angelina Villar tomorrow. She's a medium, psychic, clairvoyant, and a shaman. And their show starts at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. So check that show out. All the other shows that are on this network you can find more about them on Facebook if you go to the Enlightenment Evolution Network page or group, either one. There's a group and a page for the network, and you'll see we've got Rob's show on Wednesday, Phil's show on Thursday, Kalina's show on Friday, and Victoria's show on Saturday, Karen's show on Sunday. So more coming soon. Oh, and my wife, Lana, has a show on Mondays, too, in the mornings. So, not in the morning, no, they're in the afternoon, evening for the rest of you, actually. So, check her show out, too. It's called Manifestation Mastermind Radio. Oh, she's going to kill me when she gets home. Just kidding. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening, and that's all for now. This is Daniel saying good night, and I love you.